The forbidden love in the grand halls of the Zayari Empire. Everything was made of crystal and light. The palace floated above the clouds of planet Visera, glowing like a jewel in the sky. But inside one chamber, far away from the royal court, a secret was growing. Princess Lysira sat by the large window, her silver eyes staring at the stars. Her hands rested gently on her stomach. She was quiet. Too quiet. The stars outside didn't shine like they used to. Not after what she had done. She had fallen in love with a human. And now, she was carrying his child. No Zayari princess had ever dared such a thing. Her father, the mighty alien King Zorvak, would never forgive her. He hated humans. To him, they were filthy, weak, and unworthy of touching Zayari blood. But Lysira had seen something else in the humans. One human in particular, Commander Jace Renner. She met him during a peace conference between Earth and the Zayari Empire, held in the floating city of Calvex. Jace wasn't like the other human leaders. He didn't speak with lies or fake smiles. He spoke with heart. He listened. He asked her questions no alien ever dared ask a princess. And when she spoke, he really heard her. That's what made her heart fall. One night, under a sky full of twin moons, he kissed her. It should have ended there, but it didn't. They met again and again, in secret gardens, behind locked doors, away from spying eyes. And with each meeting, Lysira's heart opened more. She began to dream of a life without war, without hate, a life where she could hold Jace's hand in public, a life where she could love freely, but dreams don't last forever. When Lysira found out she was pregnant, she didn't cry. She smiled first. Then she felt fear crash down like a storm. If her father found out, he would kill the child, or worse, use the baby as proof that humans had tainted royal blood. It would mean war. Billions could die. She told no one at first, but her body began to change. She grew weaker. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears at night. Her silver hair started to dim. She had to tell someone, so she trusted her maid, Thava, who had raised her since she was a child. Thava was shocked, but she didn't scream. She swore loyalty, and she found an old healer from the outer colonies, one who didn't ask questions, one who helped keep the secret hidden. But secrets are hard to keep in the royal palace. General Jaruk, the king's war advisor, began to notice her absence. He watched her closely. He asked why the princess skipped ceremonies, why she didn't visit the training fields. Lysira gave excuses. But Jarek wasn't a fool, and neither was the king. King Zorvak was a brutal ruler, but not a blind one. He started sending spies to her chambers. Her food was checked. Her breath was measured. One wrong move and everything would be lost. Still, Lysira refused to run. She couldn't leave. Not without Jace. She sent a hidden message through the stars, a code only Jace would understand. I carry your light inside me. Jace, back on Earth, saw the message and froze. He didn't need a translation. He knew what it meant. He dropped everything, his position, his rank, his orders. He took a ship and flew straight toward Visera. Back in the palace, Lysira watched the stars every night, praying he would come. Her hand stayed over her growing belly. She whispered stories to the child, dreams of peace, dreams of... One night, Thava rushed in. Your father is preparing to name you heir again. The people think you're sick. He plans to enter your chambers tomorrow. Lysira's heart nearly stopped. Tomorrow. He would see. He would know. And if he knew, Jace would be walking into a death trap. She looked out the window. The sky shimmered, and far off she saw something. A tiny human ship piercing through the clouds. Jace was here, but he didn't know the king was coming. She turned to Thava, panic in her voice. We have to stop him. We have to hide the child. Thava grabbed her hands, tears in her eyes. There's no time. If he finds out, Princess, and it won't just be your life, it will be war. Lysira closed her eyes, tears falling down her cheek. She felt the baby move inside her. So small, so innocent. She had made a choice. For love, for hope, for a better future. Now the Empire would burn for it. Princess Lysira stood in front of her mirror. Her face still looked royal. Strong cheekbones, silver hair, glowing skin. But her eyes told a different story. Tired, afraid, and determined. She wore flowing robes to hide the small swell of her stomach. The child inside her, half Zayari, half human, grew stronger each day. But danger grew faster. Her father, King Zorvak, had ordered a surprise visit to her chambers that morning. To check on her health, he said. In truth, he suspected something, he always did. But this wasn't just any secret. If he found out she was carrying a human's child, he would not only kill the baby, he might destroy Earth itself. So she had to hide, not from her people, not from her enemies, from her own family. The chamber door creaked open. Lysira turned slowly. Thava, her trusted maid, entered carrying a tray. It had special herbal drinks, meant to balance Zayari energy, but also to confuse the palace scanners. Drink quickly, Thava whispered. The king's advisors will scan your vitals again. Lysira nodded and sipped. The taste was bitter. It burned her throat. But she didn't complain. It was better than death. Thava looked around nervously. Your father is already on the way. What about the healer? Lysira asked. He left last night. He said the fetus is stable, but... Thava hesitated. He warned that if the child is born early, the human side may be weaker. There may be complications. Lysira placed a hand on her belly. Then we must protect him until the time is right. Just then a knock boomed on the door. 3 hard knocks, royal guard. Thava froze. Lysira stood tall. Enter, she said calmly. The tall doors opened. 2 Zayari guards stepped inside, followed by General Jaruk. His face was sharp, eyes cold. He wore black ceremonial armor and moved like a shadow. Princess, he said. His Majesty requests your presence in the throne room. Lysira raised an eyebrow. Why not visit me here? Jaruk's lip twitched. He prefers a public setting. She understood what he meant. The king didn't want to ask questions. He wanted to expose her. In front of his court. I am feeling weak, she lied. I'm not ready to stand before the court. Jaruk stepped closer. You will stand, or I will carry you. Thava moved to stop him, but Lysira raised her hand. Fine, help me prepare. In the dressing room, Thava helped her tighten the robe and apply royal dust to her cheeks, hoping to hide her paleness. Every movement hurt. The child was restless. Lysira whispered, He suspects. Thava nodded. He's waiting for you, to stumble. You must not. Lysira took a deep breath and walked into the corridor. Meanwhile, across space, Jace Renner was hiding in a small asteroid field near Visera's outer orbit. His ship had almost been spotted by Zayari scouts twice, but he didn't turn back. He stared at the encrypted message again. I carry your light inside me. He knew what it meant. His child. Lysira had taken a great risk to send that message. That meant one thing. She needed help. Fast. Computer, Jace said. Plot a stealth course to the capital. Land me within 10 clicks of the royal palace. Warning, 94% chance of detection, the system replied. I don't care. He looked at the hollow screen. A soft glow appeared, a picture of Lysira. He touched the screen gently. Just hold on. Back at the palace, Lysira stood before her father's golden throne. King Zorvak stared at her in silence. The court was full of nobles and warriors. No one spoke. You are pale, the king said coldly. Your heartbeat is slow. You've missed council meetings, and your blood scan shows strange patterns. Lysira bowed slightly. I have been meditating, perhaps too deeply. The king turned to his healer. Is she hiding something? The healer hesitated. It's unclear, Your Majesty, her energy is mixed. Jarek stepped forward. I request a full body scan. Gasps echoed through the chamber. A full scan? On the royal daughter? Lysira raised her chin. You dare question my honor? But her heart pounded. If they scanned her now, they would see the truth. Suddenly, boom! An explosion rocked the palace. Sirens wailed. Guards rushed toward the gates. Zorvak stood. What is that? A voice came over the palace comms. Unknown human ship has breached outer defense. Jace had arrived. In the chaos, Lysira turned to Thava. We need to move now. Thava nodded. There's an old tunnel below the west wing. It leads to the ruins. Lysira placed a hand over her stomach. The baby kicked, once, strong. She whispered, He's coming for us. The sky above Visera turned red. Human ships had never entered this close to the Zayari homeworld, not without being shot down in seconds. But this one came through like a ghost, hidden behind asteroids and shadows. It was small, fast, and old. No threat to a planet like Visera, but it carried something dangerous. Hope. Jace Renner. Princess Lysira stumbled through the old palace tunnels, her breath quick and shallow. She held her stomach with both hands now. The baby, their baby, was coming. Thava ran beside her, holding a small pack of emergency supplies. The floor shook as more explosions thundered above. The war had not yet begun. But death had already entered the palace. We can't go far, Thava said, panic rising. You're bleeding. Lysira's lips trembled. Not now, not yet. But the child had other plans. Above them, the throne room had turned into chaos. Guards barked orders. Screens flashed warnings. The king stood at the center of it all, unmoved. Find the human ship, Zorvak growled. Bring me the pilot's head. General Jaruk stepped forward. And the princess? The king's eyes turned cold. She betrayed her blood. If she resists, end her. The word spread like wildfire, and for the first time in centuries, the princess of Zayar became a hunted creature. In the ruins below, the palace hidden between broken columns and moss-covered stone, Thava found an old healing chamber. Its light still flickered weakly. The scent of dust and time filled the air. She can rest here, Thava said quickly, but Lysira collapsed before reaching the platform. She screamed, soft at first, then louder. Pain rolled through her body. Her hands gripped the stone. It's time, she whispered. He's coming. At that same moment, Jace jumped from his ship, landing on cracked marble near the city's outer ring. Sirens wailed. He had no backup, no weapon strong enough to win a fight. Only his heart and the small tracker sewn into Lysira's robe months ago. Beep, beep, beep. It was faint, but the signal was alive. He ran toward it like a man possessed. In the hidden chamber, the air was filled with silence, then the cries of new life. Thava wrapped the small baby in a thin silver cloth. He was tiny, barely half the size of a Zayari newborn, but his skin was pale gold, with soft patches of glowing blue. His eyes opened wide. They were green. Human. Green, Lysira sobbed. Not from pain, from joy. He's beautiful, she whispered. So small, but he survived. Thava looked afraid. You can't stay here. The guards are searching the ruins. If they find him... Lysira tightened her grip. They won't. Jace will come. He promised. And he did. Jace stumbled into the ruins, covered in dust and scratches. His boots slammed on stone. His heart beat louder than the alarms behind him. He turned the corner and froze. There she was, Lysira, lying on a broken healing bed, glowing with sweat and tears. In her arms, a child. His child. He walked slowly, like he was afraid it was a dream. Lysira? She smiled through her tears. Jace, meet your son. He knelt beside her, eyes wide. He touched the baby's hand. Tiny fingers wrapped around one of his. His voice broke. He's real. You did this without me. I should have been here. You're here now, she said softly. But joy didn't last long. Footsteps, dozens of them. Thava peeked from the archway. They've found us. There's no more time. Jace stood, shielding Lysira and the child. There's always time. We'll fight. No, Lysira whispered. You have to take him. Get him away. Jace shook his head. Not without you. If they catch me, she said, they'll use me to get to him. But if you run now, you can hide. He can live. Tears fell down her cheeks again. This time, they weren't from joy. Promise me, Jace. You'll protect him. Jace looked at her, this alien princess who had risked everything for love. He didn't want to leave her, but he knew she was right. I promise. Thava opened a back exit. This leads to the old sewer tunnels. You'll come out near the jungle line. There's a human outpost there. Jace kissed Lysira's forehead. Then the babies. He looked back one last time. I'll come back for you. You better, she whispered with a smile. Then he vanished into the shadows. Moments later, Zayari guards burst into the chamber. Lysira stood alone, blood on the floor, breathing hard. Jarek stepped forward. Where is the child? She stared at him, unblinking. He was never real. The tunnel smelled like rust and wet stone. Jace held the baby close, wrapped tight in a heat cloak. The infant didn't cry, just blinked up at him with curious green eyes. Jace kept moving, heart racing. Behind him, distant boots pounded the stone paths. The king's soldiers were close. Each breath he took burned. The tunnels twisted like a maze beneath the city. He didn't know the full layout, only what Lysira had once described during late-night talks, when she was still just a princess, not a fugitive mother. A sudden noise echoed ahead. Jace paused. Shadows moved, but it was no patrol. A scruffy old Zayari male appeared leaning on a rusted spear. His cloak was torn, but his eyes were kind. He looked down at the human, then at the baby. So, it's true, the old one whispered. The child of both worlds. Jace raised his hand in warning. Step aside, I don't want to fight. The elder chuckled. No fight here. That baby, he might be our future. Take this path. He pointed to a hidden grate. Leads to the surface near the eastern cliffs. Why are you helping me? Jace asked. The old one shrugged. Because even empires need something new. Jace didn't wait to say more. He nodded once, whispered, Thank you, and ran. Back inside the ruined palace, Lysira sat in chains. Her wrists bled. General Jaruk stood in front of her, his armored hand twitching. The child, where is it? She stared at him, expression calm, proud. Gone. You'll be executed for treason, he growled. She smiled through her pain. Then hurry. I want to see my son in the stars before I die. Jaruk's eyes darkened. The king is preparing a broadcast. He wants to show the galaxy your betrayal. Lysira didn't speak. Her silence was louder than screams. Outside the capital, the skies exploded. Zayari fighters shot at Jace's fleeing path, but his human signal was difficult to track underground. The moment he reached the cliffs, a new problem rose. No ship. The palace had jammed all transport signals. He needed to reach the jungle and call for help from Earth's allies. But the cliffs were sheer, the winds sharp, and he was carrying a baby. Suddenly, a loud hum filled the air. From above, a sleek hovercraft shimmered into view, painted in Earth's scout colors. Jace blinked in shock. The door opened. Inside stood Major Kalani, his old squad mate, thought dead during the last border war. You always find trouble, Kalani shouted over the wind. Jace grinned. I always find family. Minutes later, the Yaimibir hovercraft zipped through the jungle skies. Inside, Kalani piloted while Jace wrapped the baby tighter. You really did it, Kalani muttered. A child? With her? Jace looked down at his son. This isn't just a child, he's proof that we can be more than enemies. Kalani glanced in the mirror. Zorvak won't see it that way. He'll burn Earth to ashes for this. Jace's face hardened. Then we'll show the galaxy the truth before he can destroy it. In the palace, the king prepared for war. He stood in his war chamber wrapped in black ceremonial armor. Giant holograms floated above, images of Earth cities, targets, weak points. His generals whispered plans of invasion, troop movement, planet, bombardments. But his thoughts kept returning to one thing: a baby, his grandchild. He tried to feel only rage, but something small, hidden, poked at the edge of his pride. What color were its eyes? He crushed the thought. On Earth, panic spread quickly. News of Zorvak's war declaration filled every screen. Politicians shouted, generals met, soldiers prepared. But one group, the Free Sky broadcast, received a special message. A video. From Jace. The next day, across the galaxy, screens turned on. It wasn't a threat, not a warning. It was a face, Lysira's baby, wrapped in cloth, sleeping softly. Then came Jace's voice. This is my son, the son of a human and a Zayari, born from peace, not war. If Zorvak declares war on Earth, he does not do it because we attacked. He does it because we loved. The galaxy froze. Debates began. And for the first time, the people of Zaire whispered not about war, but about truth. The video spread like fire. From Earth's orbit to the icy moons of Trezak, every screen lit up with the face of the half-human, half-Zayari child. His green eyes stared wide at the galaxy that now held its breath. Some people wept. Others shouted, in disbelief. Some praised the moment as history. Others called it heresy. But one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same. On planet Visera, King Zorvak's throne room turned silent. He watched the broadcast in full. Not once did Ziu. He blink. His fingers tightened around the metal armrest of his throne until it cracked. The child's soft coo echoed again and again from the speakers. Jace's voice repeated, "He's not a weapon. He's a bridge." The king stood slowly. "Call Jaruk," he growled. "Bring him now." Deep beneath the palace, General, Jaruk paced back and forth outside Lysira's prison cell. He was restless, furious, and humiliated. The child was still out there, alive, and the galaxy had seen him. He slammed the door open. "Do you know what your human has done?" he roared. Lysira, though bruised and pale, lifted her chin. "He told the truth." Jaruk slammed his fist into the wall. "The truth will burn planets. You've made us weak before our enemies." "No," she said softly. "You just fear a world where peace is stronger than fear." He stormed out before she could say more. Moments later, soldiers dragged her through the halls. Zorvak waited in the grand war chamber, facing the stars. When Lysira entered, chained and tired, he did not look at her. "You," he said coldly, "have stained the blood of my house." Lysira did not speak. "You lied, you disobeyed, you brought a child into this world who should not exist." Still, she said nothing. He turned, face unreadable. "Where is the child now?" She raised her eyes to meet his. "Safe, loved, and free from your hatred." Zorvak's control cracked. He roared like a beast and struck the pillar beside him, sending stone flying. "Your human lover will pay," he hissed, "and so will Earth. If the galaxy sees this child as a symbol, I will turn him into a warning." Lysira's voice shook, but it didn't break. "If you harm him, I swear your empire will fall from within." Far away, hidden in a resistance, base carved inside an asteroid, Jace Renner held his son close. The child smiled for the first time. Jace's heart melted, but he had no time to enjoy it. Major Kalani entered with grim news. "Zorvak just ordered a bounty," he said. 10 million credits for your head, double if the baby is taken alive." Jace stood, face hard. "So he wants a war?" Kalani shook his head. "Not yet. He wants a spectacle. Word is, he plans a public execution." of Lysira? Kalani hesitated. Yes, tomorrow on the galactic stream. The words hit Jace like a punch. No, he whispered. He wouldn't. But he knew he would. Zorvac wasn't a king anymore. He was a cornered beast, and Jace was done running. He left the child with Kalani. I'll come back for him, he said. No matter what. Kalani nodded. We'll guard him with our lives. Jace turned to go, gripping the plasma blade he'd hidden since the last war. He had no army, no backup, just one mission. Get her back. On Visera, the stage was already being built. High above the city, a massive floating platform rose into the clouds. Millions would watch. Billions would stream it. The charge was clear. Treason against the crown, and the sentence, death by celestial fire. That night, as soldiers loaded Lysira into a prison transport, she whispered to herself, Come, Jace. Please. The stars above her flickered, and somewhere in the dark, a human ship broke through the silence of space. Silent, small, and full of fury. The sky above Visera was filled with golden light. Not from sunrise. From the floating execution, platform rising above the royal palace. Billions across the galaxy tuned into the broadcast. On every screen, Princess Lysira stood in chains, her white gown torn, her face calm, but pale. Her feet were bare, her hands bound, and her fate, already, decided. Across star systems, people watched with wide eyes, some in silence, some in protest, some in secret support. The king was about to make history, and blood was his ink. From deep space, hidden behind Visera's black moon, a stolen Earthship powered up. Inside, Jace Renner stared at the screen. The image of Lysira filled it. Even now, even chained, she looked like royalty, like strength, like the woman he had given everything for. And now, he would give more. Jace had no army, but he had a plan. Using stolen codes from Kalani's rebel base, he tapped into Visera's own defense system, its blind spot, a tiny gap where cloaked ships slipped through unnoticed, a path used only by palace servants long ago. Manual flight only, Jace whispered. The ship's AI responded, Warning, no autopilot, no backup, 2% survival rate. Jace smiled grimly. Good, let's beat the odds. The floating platform was surrounded by Zayari royal guards. Dozens of warships circled above. A countdown began on the stream. 5 minutes to execution. The king stood on a high dais, wearing black war armor, his voice booming through the skies. This traitor shamed our empire. Let her death be a lesson. Lysira didn't look at him. She looked to the stars. She whispered, Come, Jace, come. Suddenly, boom. A burst of energy flashed across the clouds. A ship. Small. Fast. Unmarked. And diving straight toward the execution platform. Panic erupted. Guards scrambled. Sirens wailed. Zorvac's eyes widened. No. It can't be. It was. Jace Renner. Coming, like a bullet through the sky. The ship smashed through the outer shields, spinning with heat and flame. Jace leapt from the cockpit before the crash, his boots landing hard on the metal deck. Sparks flew, smoke curled. He held a plasma blade in one hand and a tracking signal in the other. Lysira looked up, tears falling. He had come. Protect the king, guards shouted. Blades clashed, bolts fired, but Jace moved like a storm. One by one, soldiers fell, not dead, only disarmed, stunned. Jace didn't kill unless he had no choice. His rage wasn't for revenge, it was for freedom. Lysira shouted, Behind you! He spun just in time, parrying a blow from Jarek's energy spear. The general roared, You dare return here? I dare to take back what's mine, Jace growled. The two clashed, metal sparked, wind howled. Below, citizens watched in awe. The human was winning. Then, Jace was struck. A sharp hit across the side sent him stumbling. Blood smeared his face. Jaruk raised his spear for the final blow, but a flash of light struck from behind. Thava. She'd grabbed a fallen guard's blaster and fired. The general fell. Jace looked up, gasping. Thava smiled. "Don't thank me yet. Get her out of here." He broke Lysira's chains and caught her in his arms. "I told you I'd come back," he whispered. She nodded, leaning into him. "And you're late." Alarms blared, ships circled. More guards came, there was no escape. But then, another shock. Dozens of small rebel crafts appeared from the clouds. Kalani's voice echoed in Jace's earpiece. "You didn't think I'd let you do this alone, did you?" Earth's allies, rebels, peace believers, they had come, for the child, for the truth, for the future. A full battle broke out in the sky, Zayari royal forces versus a swarm of small, fast rebel fighters. The platform shook. The palace trembled. Zorvak stood frozen watching the chaos unfold. His daughter, rescued. His army, shaken. His empire, cracking. And worst of all, his people were watching, not cheering him. Cheering them. Jace and Lysira escaped on a rebel craft, flying through the chaos. Behind them, Viscera burned in the light of its own fear. But before they left orbit, Lysira looked back once more. "What happens now?" she asked softly. Jace took her hand. "Now," he said, "we show the galaxy what love can build after war tries to break it." The galaxy was watching, not through battle reports or government speeches, but through a single shaky video feed. A woman, once called traitor, a man, once called invader, and a baby, not yet old enough to speak, but strong enough to stop a year. First the child of Zayari human blood. Weeks passed since the escape from Viscera. The war never officially started. Because the war never got the chance. Jace and Lysira had vanished into the stars with the help of Earth's rebels. Their ship moved from moon to moon, station to station, not hiding, but searching, not for weapons, for voices. Lysira stood before an underground crowd, Zayari workers, Earth diplomats, alien merchants from 10 different species, all quiet, all waiting. She held her child in her arms, wrapped in blue cloth. "This is my son," she said softly. "He is not pure Zayari, and he is not pure human. He is something greater. He is a chance." She didn't shout. She didn't beg, she just spoke. And the galaxy began to listen. From mining colonies to trade ports, from dusty moon hubs to forest planets, more people gathered. They had seen the broadcast. They had seen the child. They had seen what the king tried to silence. And they began to question, if love between enemies could create life, why were they still killing? Meanwhile, King Zorvak remained in his palace. But something was different. His generals argued, but fewer obeyed. His own citizens whispered. His daughter had survived. The human hadn't come with an army. He had come with a promise, and a child. Zorvak locked himself in his private chamber for days. He watched the video again and again, Lysira smiling, Jace holding their baby, the child's tiny fingers reaching for the camera. He had called the child a curse, but every time he looked into those green eyes on screen, the word didn't fit anymore. On the orbiting peace station Unity Spire, Earth and Zayari diplomats met in secret. Jace and Lysira arrived with their son. The moment they stepped into the hall, the room fell silent. Ambassadors bowed. Guards lowered their weapons. For once, fear was not the strongest presence, it was something else. Respect. The head of Earth's council stood first. "Commander Jace, you risked everything." Jace nodded. "I didn't do it for politics." "Then, what for?" Jace glanced at Lysira, then at his son. "For the kind of galaxy I want him to grow up in." Zayari Elder Veron stepped forward, his voice cracked with age. "And Princess Lysira, What do you want from the Empire? She stepped forward slowly. I want it to survive, she said. But not like this. Not through fear. Not through blood. I want our people to live past hate. I want my son to know he doesn't have to pick a side. The council chamber remained still. Then Elder Veron did something unexpected. He bowed to the child and whispered, "The bridge has been born." Within weeks, new laws were drafted. Zayari citizens spoke freely for the first time in centuries. Earth opened its borders to peaceful trade. The rebels, once hunted, became peacekeepers, and the child was given a name in both languages. Kyle, Lysiren, meaning born from 2 stars, meant to light the way. In time, Kale grew up not in hiding but in honor. He had his mother's strength and his father's heart, and he never had to carry a weapon. Because his name had already ended AA, War and King Zorvak, he never saw battle again. One quiet evening, he stood on his balcony looking at the stars. Alone. He held a secret gift, a tiny drawing sent by Kale, who barely knew how to write. A family, holding hands. The king stared at it for a long time. He never answered, but the next day his ship stood down, and peace finally had a place in the stars.